The crowning achievement of the romantic age of geographical discoveries was accomplished by a valiant, limping soldier mariner whom the world now immortalizes as Ferdinand Magellan. Of noble lineage, he was born in 1480 in the Portuguese town of Ponte de Barca. In 1505, at the age of 25, he joined a Portuguese military expedition to the east as a common seaman. He fought gallantly in the battles of Kilwa and Sofala and Cananor and Diu, and especially distinguished himself in the Battle of Malacca, where he saved the life of his friend Francisco Serrano. Because of his brilliant military record, he was promoted to the rank of captain. At the close of the Africa War, Magellan again returned to Lisbon, where he pored over old maps and crystallized his belief in a westward route to the east. Unfortunately, his monarch, King Manuel I, proved to be ungrateful. Not only did he refuse to increase Magellan's pension, but he also ignored his plan to blaze a westward route to the fabled Spice Islands, Moluccas. Disgusted by his king's ingratitude, Magellan renounced his Portuguese citizenship and went to Spain. In Seville, he met a Portuguese resident, Diego Barbosa, an old friend of his father. He married Beatriz, Barbosa's daughter. Through the efforts of his father-in-law and other influential friends, Magellan presented his plan to the Spanish king, Charles I, then Emperor Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire. The Spanish king, upon the advice of Bishop Fonseca, agreed to finance the expedition. When news reached Lisbon of the fitting out of an expedition to the east, King Manuel tried to stop it, but with no success. The expedition consisted of 5 small ships: the Trinidad, the San Antonio, the Concepcion, the Victoria, and the Santiago, with a total of 265 men. Falero was originally appointed commander of the expedition, but at the last hour the king told him to remain behind. Magellan became the supreme commander. Magellan and his men sailed from Seville, drifting down Guadalquivir River to the port of Sanlúcar de Barrameda. Here Magellan waited for favorable winds. On September 20, he hoisted sails and the historic voyage began. Sailing southwestward, he reached the Canaries on September 26. Striking across the Atlantic, he reached South America and landed in what is now Pernambuco, Brazil on November 29. After obtaining provisions from friendly natives, Magellan resumed his voyage, reaching Rio de Janeiro on December 13. From Rio de Janeiro, he explored the Rio de la Plata, vainly searching for the gateway to the Pacific. His men suffered greatly from storms and cold. At last, he anchored at Port San Julian on March 31, 1520, and made it his winter base. On the night of Palm Sunday, April 1, 1520, the mutiny broke out among his men. The leaders of the mutiny were Quesada, the captain of the Concepcion, Mendoza, the captain of the Victoria, and Cartagena, whom Magellan had deposed as captain of the San Antonio during the Atlantic voyage for insubordination. Sebastian de Elcano, to his disgrace, joined the mutiny. Magellan suppressed the mutiny and meted out swift justice to the mutineers. Quesada was executed. Cartagena and Father Sanchez de la Reina were marooned on the coast. Magellan generously pardoned 40 mutineers, including Elcano. In the spring, Magellan left Port San Julian sailing southward. The Santiago was wrecked by a violent storm. With 4 remaining ships, he sailed on. On October 21, 1520, he discovered the strait which now bears his name. He called it the Strait of All Saints. While sailing through the strait, the San Antonio, piloted by Esteban Gomez, a Portuguese, deserted on the night of November 20 and sailed for Spain. With only 3 remaining ships, Magellan began his trans-Pacific voyage on November 28. Death, sickness, and hunger rode the masts of his fleet. Provisions ran low and the men devoured worms, rats, sawdust, and water-soaked leather. 19 men died and many became too ill to work. But Magellan boldly sailed on. On March 6, 1521, Magellan reached Guam. The natives, called Camaros, supply these hungry men with fresh water and provisions. From Guam, Magellan continued his voyage westward. At dawn of Saturday, March 16, 1521, he saw above the horizon the towering heights of Samar. This was the rediscovery of the Philippines. The following day, Magellan landed at the small uninhabited islet of Humonhon at the mouth of Leyte Gulf. On March 18, 9 friendly Filipinos from the neighboring island of Suluan arrived in a boat and gave a cargo of bananas, fish, coconuts, and palm wine to Magellan. They were the first Filipinos seen by the Spaniards. On the afternoon of Monday, March 25, 1521, Magellan left Humonhon and reached Masao Butuan, Agusan del Norte on March 28. He was taking shelter from a storm and was welcomed by the local Filipino king named Raha Kulambu and his brother Raha Siagu, the king of Butuan. Both Kulambu and Siagu welcomed Magellan. Kulambu made a blood compact with Magellan to seal their new friendship. This was the first recorded blood compact in the annals of the country. It took place on Good Friday, March 29, 1521. On Easter Sunday, March 31, 1521, a Mass was held on the shore of Masao. It was the first Catholic Mass held in the Philippines. At sundown of the same day, Magellan, in the presence of Spaniards and Filipinos, solemnly planted a large wooden cross on the summit of a hill overlooking the sea. He took possession of the land in the name of Spain. He named the country Archipelago of Saint Lazarus. Magellan's men helped the people of Masao in harvesting the rice. The harvest over, King Kulambu piloted the fleet to Cebu, a flourishing kingdom under Raha Humabon. Magellan landed in Cebu on April 7, 1521. On the same day, he had a blood compact with Humabon. At the time, Cebu was already an entrepot of Oriental trade. Magellan met a Chamise trader there. On Sunday, April 14, 1521, a Mass was held on the shore of Cebu. After the Mass, Magellan planted a wooden cross which still exists. King Humabon of Cebu and other chieftains submitted to Spanish sovereignty. Only one Filipino leader defied the white men. He was the fearless Lapu-Lapu, the king of Mactan. Irked by his defiance, Magellan made preparations to crush Lapu-Lapu. At dawn of April 27, 1521, Magellan invaded Mactan with an assault army of 60 steel-clad Spaniards in 3 vessels and 1,000 Cebuano warriors in 30 boats. Before the battle, he boastfully told Humabon and his men to remain in their boats and to watch how the Europeans fight. With his Spanish soldiers, he waded ashore and attacked the Mactan defenders. The battle was furiously fought. Magellan found out too late that he had underestimated the fighting prowess and fierce courage of Lapu-Lapu and his men. The Spanish invaders were beaten and forced back to their boats. Magellan was wounded by a poisoned arrow in his right leg. Twice his iron helmet was knocked off, and a Mactan bamboo spear struck him on the face. One Mactan warrior slashed his left leg. He fell face downward, and Lapu-Lapu and his fighters pounced and killed him. By vanquishing Magellan, the world's first circumnavigator, Lapu-Lapu became the first Filipino fighter for freedom. To Western historians, he may have been just another hostile native on the shore. But to Filipinos, his decisive victory in Mactan was significant because he successfully defended his territory against Western aggression. It was the first recorded triumph of Filipino arms over invading Western forces, and it drew attention to these islands. The Spaniards lost face in Cebu because of their disastrous defeat in Mactan. Duarte Barbosa became the new commander, with Juan Serrano as second in command. Because of their improper conduct, the Spaniards antagonized the Cebuanos. On May 1, 27 Spaniards, including the 2 commanders, were massacred by the Cebuanos. The survivors hurriedly sailed away and continued their voyage to the Moluccas. Only 2 ships, the Trinidad and the Victoria, were left to negotiate the return to Spain. More fortunate than the Trinidad, the Victoria crossed the Indian Ocean, rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and finally reached Sanlúcar, Spain on September 6, 1522. With only 18 European survivors, the voyage around the world lasted 2 years, 11 months, and 16 days. That was the first time the globe had been circumnavigated by man. The voyage of Magellan was the greatest maritime exploit in the annals of mankind. It accomplished the first circumnavigation of the Earth, thereby proving that the Earth is round. Europe came to know that the greatest of all oceans, the Pacific Ocean, lies between the New World and Asia. It increased the geographical knowledge of the times, for the Europeans learned of the existence of the Strait of Magellan, Guam, and other Pacific islands, and the Philippines. Finally, it paved the way for the Spanish colonization and Catholicization of the Philippines. Unfortunately,